Fringe.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to apologize before the show gets started. We not only do we have to use our old intro because I've redone the intro for Friday Night Fringe, but we normally don't stream on Sundays. So this is going to be kind of a weird makeup show. As a lot of people were writing in the chat there. Of course, I was in Winnipeg over the weekend. I just got home a couple of hours ago, but hey, the show must go on. The stream must be had. And be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the stream every week. I enjoy sitting down, hearing what you guys have to say. So, of course, I wanted to get a stream done. But what I didn't take into accountability was the fact that not only was I gone for the weekend and there was a time zone change going from Calgary to Winnipeg, but there was also daylight savings. So I'm double bagged today, trying to get adjusted. And I hope everyone's doing well. So I will apologize if the show seems a little off tonight or if my energy levels seem a bit lower. I'm going to try and get it together for you guys, though, for the show. I just realized I'm not wearing my Trump hat. Usually I wear my Donald Trump hat. I say I'm so far. I didn't even think about getting it. I'll have it this Friday on Friday Night Fringe. Ladies and gentlemen, also, if you join us on those Friday streams, come to the channel this Friday. I will be doing the infamous one chip challenge here on the stream because we hit 25,000 subscribers. We're on our way. I believe we're getting close to 27,000 now. So it's slowly creeping up there. I'd love to hit 30,000. That would be fantastic. But I'm gonna kind of fill everybody in as to what happened over the weekend, what I was up to, and then we're gonna get into the roll call, and then a little bit as to what is gonna happen on tonight's stream. So this weekend, Winnipeg. I was in Winnipeg to do a little bit of maintenance on my mother's graveside. I try to get out there at least once a year to pay my respects. Now, my mother's buried in a small town about 2 hours west of Winnipeg. And I, of course, landed with my wife. We got a rental car, drove out the 2 hours, and it had snowed in Winnipeg 2 days before we got there. There was quite a snowstorm, an accumulation of snow. So when I got to the rental place, they had given us a Chrysler 300 when I requested an SUV, and I wasn't too impressed because, again, these smaller cars, well, I guess the 300s aren't really a small car, but a car in comparison to an SUV, I feel better with an SUV or a truck going through the snow. They didn't have one, obviously, so we drove it up there, and of course, I ended up turning into the cemetery, and because it had snowed and it's a small town, nobody had really cleared out the road to the cemetery off the main highway. So unfortunately, I started to move in with the car and I couldn't tell the depth of the snow. So the car actually got buried a little bit in the front bumper of the snow. So I spent about half an hour extra at the cemetery trying to push a vehicle out of the snow, out of the ditch. A lot of fun. And not only did I misjudge the depth of the snow, but as anybody knows that's seen me in public, I never wear pants. I'm always wearing shorts. I wear shorts all year round because I live in Calgary and grew up in Winnipeg. So the winters in Calgary don't really bother me all that much. And of course, I stepped into the snow and was up to my knees in cold Manitoba snow as I went to clean off and do some maintenance on my mother's grave. So it was interesting to say the least. Froze my legs and had some. I'll be honest, it was a fun trip. It was good to see some friends that I grew up with in town. I caught up with some friends. Everybody was celebrating birthdays out there, so I was joining in on that, and it was a lot of fun to catch up with people that I grew up with that still ironically communicate with each other after all these years. People that I went to, the first, second, third, fourth grade with all the way up to grade 9 before moving to Calgary, still all kind of keep in touch with each other, and they all live within the vicinities of each other. And it's just odd because usually where I'm from in Calgary, a lot of people have grown up, they moved away, they've done different things. But this particular community of people just kind of, they kind of all just hang around and enjoy life. And it's interesting to catch up and visit with people. So Winnipeg was interesting. Now, one thing I noticed while I was in Winnipeg is I was unaware that they're taking in so much of the Ukrainian population based off of the war in the Ukraine. In Calgary, we don't really see that as much. We get more of the we get Ukrainian migrants, but not in the numbers that Winnipeg has been getting. So when we got to our hotel near the airport, the hotel was mostly Ukrainians. There was Ukrainian flags all over the hotel. The front desk people were speaking Ukrainian, um, or I guess Russian, however you want to say it. And then, like even the signs reminding you about daylight savings, everything was in Russian, and it was bizarre. It was bizarre to see. I thought maybe we stumbled into the wrong hotel or something, or like it was held up by the Russian mob or something. It was bizarre, but it was fun. But the funniest part of the trip, and the funniest part that I wanted to share with you guys, actually occurred today. Um, do I wear shorts? God, no. Come on, I don't want to chase people away. The funniest thing that happened today when we went to the airport, we were waiting for our flight to leave. And of course, I said, hey, look, I don't want to use the bathroom on an airplane. Let's, get a few minutes into the washroom before we leave. And of course, as I went into the men's room, uh, there was an overcrowded amount of people in there. I guess planes were coming in all at the same time. But an older gentleman was up at the counter washing his hands. And of course, there's a basket sitting right in the front of the sinks, right below the mirror. And I bet you can't guess what was loaded in those baskets, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'll give you a hint. They were put there by Justin Trudeau, and it was a big old basket of men's tampons sitting in the bathroom at the airport. And I had a good old laugh because the old guy was looking for paper towel to wipe his hands, and he sits there digging through this box. And he says, "What the hell are these tampons?" He says, "What are these doing in here?" And about five different people said, "Ask Justin Trudeau." And the whole bathroom erupted in laughter. Like, I'll tell you, for a town like Winnipeg that is typically more NDP, more liberal than anything. Now, there are conservatives in Winnipeg. There are conservative thinking individuals in Winnipeg, but a lot of the older population there, the older generation population, are more liberal or NDP than anything else. So to see that kind of reaction in a town like Winnipeg was unreal. But everybody in the bathroom having a laugh at Justin Trudeau's tampons in the bathroom. And I got to be honest, that's the first time I've seen tampons in the men's room since this was put together. It's it was insane. Sean coming in with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Um, you hear about Mississauga, Ontario home invasion? I did, and you know what? I feel for the family. I was gonna talk about it on the channel, but I really don't want to, just because um, it's very disturbing, and um, I like to focus when we talk. I know there's not a lot of positive when it comes into politics, but I like to stay as positive as we can. And again, my sympathies to the families. That's insane. It's you got to keep the space cool, if you know what I mean, in the winter or spring. Hey, you know what it is? It's honestly like I just always preferred shorts. I used to wear, so growing up in Winnipeg, I would wear shorts to the hockey rink. And when I got my equipment on, the shorts stayed on beneath the hockey pants, with like a muscle shirt or something like that. So like I'm just used to wearing shorts all the time, that when I moved to Calgary, we get the mild Chinook winds that come over the mountains, and they give us a bit of a break. So while Calgary does get cold during the wintertime, I don't find that it bothers me. I really don't feel the cold like I did when I grew up in Winnipeg. And a lot of outdoor hockey time in those shorts and hockey equipment playing hockey as a kid. I just I just never really got into wearing pants unless I'm doing something formal that requires me to dress up a little bit. So I never got into it. No, the Chinooks, of course, always talked about by guys like Leonardo DiCaprio, who say it's all the global climate change, it's the global boiling. They don't seem to understand that we actually get Chinooks. Crazy times. But hey, let's get into the stream. Everybody, I know people have been jumping in the roll call. If you haven't gotten into the roll call yet, throw your name in there. Let me know where you're watching from. Let's see if we can get one person from every province in the country. Throw it in. Again, we won't be able to get everybody because, God, we got 315 people watching the stream right now. unbelievable. I didn't think we'd see this kind of viewership tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'll get to as many as I can. If you're just joining the stream, make sure to hit the like button and leave your comments in the live feed, because that tells people, ladies and gentlemen, hey, people are watching this stream. We got to get people in there and take a look at what's going on. Let's get caught up here. Let's see what's going on. We got Christina coming in. I was going to say from Mississauga home invasion. Yes, there was a home invasion, and people were unalived in that invasion, and it was just a terrible story. Carrie Lynn Landry coming in from Alberta, welcome in. We've got Doug coming in from Nova Scotia, welcome into the stream. We got Sandy coming in from Ontario. We've got Brian coming in from Mission, BC. I love that town. Welcome into the stream. We got Mike coming in from Sudbury, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. Musicator coming in from Brockville, Ontario. We've got Daria coming in from Kamloops, BC. James coming in from Ottawa. I almost said Oshawa. Ottawa, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. Great to see all of you in here. Queen Esther coming in from Ontario as well. Welcome into the stream. Frank says YouTube's playing games again. We're going to get into that in this stream because, boy, the shenanigans were in full effect this week. We got Lori from Bell River, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you. Snowing in FSG. I'm assuming that's Fort St. John. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you as well. QMG. We got Kitty coming in. Kitty the Prepping Cat coming in from Ontario. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you. Merritt coming in from Palm Desert. Welcome into the stream. Suzanne, good old Suzanne Eckstein joining us. Longtime viewer. I'm in Northwest Saskatchewan, and my 15-year-old boy has been in shorts all winter and walks the dog in his shorts. There you go. So I'm not the only one. Blackface Son of Castro, subscribe too. Yes, if you haven't subscribed yet, let's get those subs up. Everybody sub to the channel. And again, we're going to get into the shenanigans with YouTube this week. But the subs are a key factor of that. So make sure you sub to the channel if you haven't yet. We got God Save Our Planet coming in from Toronto. We got Cindy coming in from good old Saskatchewan. Go Scott Moe. Yes, Scott doing great things this week for everybody. Covered a video about him on the channel. We got Dave coming in from Grand Prairie. Ange coming in from Huntsville, Ontario. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you. We've got Non-Compliant coming in from Eastern Ontario. JT keeps raising the taxes. It's not enough to drive a person to drink, but wait, he wants to raise the taxes on that too. Absolutely. And April 1st, the joke's on us. But hey, we'll get into that in the stream as well. We got Dean coming in from Kingston, Ontario. We've got TM coming in from Ontario as well. Welcome into the stream, both of you. We got Frank's coming in from Elliott Lake. We got Harry coming in from East Village. Phoebe coming in from Alberta. We've got Johnny coming in from Toronto, Ontario. We got JC coming in Elk Island, Alberta. God Save Our Planet. We're not all liberals. You're certainly not. No, I just know from growing up in Winnipeg, there's a very large liberal presence. We got Christina coming in. Be worried about the clowns. We've got Shane coming in from good old Cowtown, my town. Welcome into the stream. Social Media Outlaw coming in from Sarnia, Ontario. We've got Dan coming in from East York. Wow, we got Ski Monkey coming in from Barbados, man. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you. Now notice he said Barbados. A lot of people used to say the Barbados, but it is just Barbados. One of my English teachers from high school was from Barbados, and he used to get so pissed whenever somebody would say, "Oh, have you been to the Barbados?" And he'd rip their heads off. But hey, there we go. We got Blackface Son of Castro coming in from Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia. Welcome back into the stream. We got Mike TV coming back in as well, I believe from Winnipeg. Welcome back into the stream. Great to see you. What do we got here? We got Green Goddess coming in from Ottawa. Welcome into the stream. We've got Rob coming in from Kinmount, Ontario. Welcome in as well. Derek survived his trip to Winnipeg, a survivor. Listen, I grew up in Winnipeg. Those are the streets. I love Winnipeg, and it was great to be home for the weekend. Especially finding those tampons in the men's bathroom at the airport. That was the highlight of my weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to get caught up in the stream, so let's get into it. I apologize. Thank you for everybody for the roll call. And Joe Lyman Welcome home, good friend of the channel, Joe. Thank you for popping in. Great to see you here. Welcome into the stream. Now, this week, we got a little controversy going on in my mind on YouTube, and I usually don't like to get into those things. I know people like to make these fake Twitter accounts about me that say all these nasty things, but I'm going to dip into a bit of the drama because I want to set the record straight on something that has arisen because a lot of viewers of a certain channel tend to watch this channel as well. Now, I've seen some drama going on when it comes to Northern Perspective. And I don't really watch a lot of other political channels on YouTube simply because with the content that I make, I don't ever want to feel like I'm taking content or ideas from another channel. While I collaborate and spit ideas back and forth with a couple of YouTubers that I stay in touch with, I tend not to watch other content. However, somebody passed on to me this week and they wanted me to cover an ongoing issue with Northern Perspective. And what was happening over there was apparently they wanted verification of people inside their Discord, I believe it was. They wanted people's email addresses, and they had said to everybody that you must register or be kicked out of the Discord because we want to verify people's identities. Now, to me personally, anytime somebody asks for your personal information, um, I'm not on board with that. And from what I seen in the comment section on that community post, a lot of viewers were really upset with Northern Perspective. And I reached out, and a lot of people sent me hate mail over it because they were mad that I threw in my 2 cents. Now, of course, one thing I mentioned in that comment was it sounds like somebody wants to get email addresses so they can sell off people's data. Now, a lot of places will do that. They'll say, you need to register with us on an email list. You need to register us for certain reasons. Nobody's going to see your information. And then they take that information and sell it to companies, third parties that want to advertise on your cell phone, send you spam emails, things like that. Now, I'm not accusing Northern Perspective of doing that. I certainly am not, but I said it sounds like that. And I simply said to Northern Perspective, I hope that's not the case. But what I was concerned about was the amount of viewers who were sending me from their channel posts about this community post saying you should cover this on the channel. Now, I'm not going to smear or slander any other channels on YouTube. Um, exactly what I said in their post is that we're all in the same boat here. We all want the same thing. We want to see Justin Trudeau thrown out of office. And the more of us that are reaching out on the platform to do so and get the message out there, the better. So, of course, I wish them all the best and just said that I don't think it's a very smart move to be asking for people's email addresses. So I'm not sure what has transpired or what has happened with Northern Perspective on that. If they've doubled down and said that it has to happen, that's their choice as a channel. And again, I wish them well. I hope everything works out for them. But just for those who were sending me that information, asking me to cover it, I also wanted to point out on this live stream, I'm not going to do those kind of stories here on the channel. I'm not going to smear other channels, and I'm not going to talk about um, the decisions that they make, even if they're decisions that upset people, because that's not the business that I'm in. And I wouldn't want other channels doing that to me either. Of course, when the Justin Trudeau supposed drunk daughter video surfaced, a lot of people again doing things like fake Twitter accounts and all these parody accounts saying, "Look at me, I'm Derek and I'm an idiot," and all these things. I never really get or understand those things because they never really go anywhere. They never really do anything, and to be honest, I don't really pay attention to what they do because it's stupid. But when it comes to attacking other channels, um, there's no need. I think what how they want to run their channel is their business, and they obviously have their reasons. Because I'm seeing it down here, and saying they don't show their faces, and again, that's their choice. I understand where some people feel a disconnect. And again, it's not my place to judge. I'll be honest with you. When I used to stream on Twitch, I did the same thing where I had an animated kind of VTuber avatar that I would talk on. And a lot of it was because I didn't have the equipment to show my face on camera while running a retro game live stream. So I actually used something of that similar extent. So I had a reason for doing that. And a lot of it was, again, I wasn't making money on Twitch. I couldn't afford the equipment because I was a stay at home dad at the time and I was doing it just for fun. So again, I'm not gonna gripe on Northern Perspective. I think I think that um, Somebody says they're protecting their family. Okay, great. If that's the cause, then that's it. But I just know, again, a lot of people were asking me to say something about it, to make a video and point it out. I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to go on that front. Again, I don't watch them, so I don't know the basis of their channel, but a lot of people say good things about them. And again, I wish them the best, because when we're all doing well, that's bad news for Justin Trudeau. So I, again, will not cover that. I can assure you, on this channel, I won't be asking for people's email addresses. I won't be asking for people's information. Again, that's your business at the end of the day. Because anytime I get people in my discords, in my comment sections, or anywhere else that want to act like jackasses, I simply have them removed by my mods. I've got a great team of people that look through all of that stuff and get rid of that stuff. So I really don't worry about it. Now, um, again, I don't know the extent of what's happening over there, but we're going to move on from that. I just wanted to um, point out that um, I'm just not going to get into it with other channels, because I think we all need to work together to get the message out there. And I don't want to judge what other people are doing, because I don't understand the circumstances of why they're doing those things. Now, people, speaking of people that were upset, um, Friday, um, Friday when we had I had Stephanie Kusi, conservative MP here on the channel, and we did an interview about Arrive Scam, and we talked a lot about what was happening with Arrive Scam, where Arrive Scam was going, and of course, I asked Stephanie about repercussions. I wanted to know, where are we looking at for justice for those who have stepped over the line. Now, I did receive some comments of people saying it was concerning that, again, hard questions weren't asked. And I kind of wanted to educate people and talk about that, because a lot of people don't understand what you're seeing on YouTube, or what you're seeing in these interviews, is very different from face to face, or a candid conversation. Now, when we hold those interviews, um, the first time I reach out to those people and say, "Would you like to come on the channel and talk?" Of course, they're very happy to come on. They love coming on the channel to talk. But what you have to remember about what Stephanie Kusi's doing right now is she's part of a committee that's looking into a Rive scam. And it's kind of like, it's not really like a court hearing, but it's kind of like something where they can't go around flapping their mouths too much, because it's going to throw a wrench into the works as to what they're doing. If they start throwing out accusations, if they start saying slanderous things about the other parties involved. So there's only so far of an extent as to where those interviews can go. And I knew doing that interview going in that some people were going to disagree with the path that that interview took. Now, of course, I did ask her the question, what is going to happen? Are we going to see um, charges? Are we going to see some form of repercussion that Justin Trudeau keeps talking about, in terms of those who profited during the pandemic by padding their pockets, which essentially means Justin Trudeau should be arresting himself. But of course, Stephanie had said, I don't think so. I don't know what's going to come of it. Now, keep in mind, again, we're not all the way through this inquiry, and again, I'm not going to say that she's 100% right, and I'm not going to say that she's 100% wrong either. The problem with politics, and what I was more concerned about, is the damage has been done already. Now, the government has already been told that they must recoup the costs that went out on Arrive scam, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But what I was more concerned about is, if nothing comes of it, if no form of punishment comes forward to those responsible, even companies like GC Strategies, then what it does when we get future governments in, and I'm not talking about Pierre Polyev, I'm talking about future governments 20, 30, 40 years from now, it sets a precedent that it's okay to steal from taxpayers, so long as you have a powerful enough government that doesn't care about the questions of the public. That's my number one concern, is how do we put fail safes in place to make sure that these things don't continue to happen? Now, a lot of people weren't happy with the answer that I got, and a lot of people said, it's usual softball questions. The problem on this channel is that when you conduct interviews like that, and I reach out to people like Stephanie Kusi and say, "Would you like to come on?" They come on because it's a safe place for them to come and talk without any gotcha moments, without any aggressive journalism, I guess you could say. And that's not to say it's always softballs, but at some point, when you build a good relationship with people and you say, hey, can we get more people on the show? Can we get other people from the conservative caucus on here that will maybe elaborate and talk a little bit more in depth to the answers we want? It's a lot easier to convince those people to come on the show and talk rather than wasting one opportunity to be very aggressive and point fingers, if that makes any sense. So, again, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad for having questions. I have questions too. And we live in a time where we should be asking questions, where we have every right to be mad and asking questions. I just, from my experience in business, and again, my experience getting these interviews together, there's a time and a place, I guess. And I'm not saying that it's always going to be easy softball questions on this channel. But what I'm saying is that there's a way to pick the right time or the right formula to ask those questions as you build that relationship with those people. Now, Stephanie has told me again she's happy to come back on the channel at some point and update and talk about things. And those are the times again where as things develop, we can start saying, where's everything going? What are we looking at? And what are we going to see in the future? Um, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, Joe's hitting it right here. Oh, hang on. I minimized the screen there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Softball interviews are boring, challenging, but honest questions are how politicians set themselves apart. Again, as this, I'm sure. So, what I wanted to do was again set a basis, but also make it clear that by asking questions, are we going to see arrests? Are we going to see repercussions? That, hey, I want to know some answers that aren't being discussed right now. The problem is that she's giving me an educated guess rather than a solution to how things are going to play out, because again, we don't really know how it's going to play out as it's ongoing. So I understand both sides of the spectrum. um and again, that's where I'm saying she's not wrong, and I don't feel like the viewers are wrong. I don't think she's right either, and I don't think the viewers are right to some extent when it comes to things. I'm not right on everything either. But what I can tell you is that I do have plans to bring on Larry Brock. I do have plans to bring on Michael Barrett, Garnet Genius, and again, I have plans to ask them some harder questions and try to get some answers, and maybe ask the questions if they say we're not going to see any kind of repercussions. Maybe start asking the questions like, why not? What is the point of this inquiry if we're not going to see those kind of results? And then finally, once I get through the entire lot of them, ask the question of, why are we wasting time doing this if no future fail safes are being put in place to ensure this doesn't happen again? Why are we doing this if nothing's going to happen in terms of arrests or accountability for the things that have been done? So I guess I'm trying to get all of the facts rather than just ask one person. Because if you've been watching and following with Arrive Scam, you'll notice that there are multiple MPs that are involved in this suit. Again, with Larry Brock being a former attorney, I think that I can maybe get a little bit more out of him than other representatives like Michael Barrett or Stephanie Kuzi. So it'll be interesting again whenever we get him on the channel to hear what he has to say, as well as others. And I look forward to that. And I look forward to bringing that to you guys as time goes on. Now, following off of that, and again, this isn't like a complaint piece; it's more just explaining how these channels work and why you see things a certain way, so that there's a transparency. Again, I don't want to ever feel or make viewers feel like I close things off or don't allow access to the reasoning behind things. My goal here is never to feel like I have to please everybody, but I do like when we're all on the same page and understand how things work. But in terms of how things work on YouTube, this week has been very interesting. A lot of people have been noticing that as videos have been uploaded, um, as things are being uploaded, titles have been changing. Some people have been saying they've been getting a little clickbaity. The problem going on with Justin Trudeau's censorship bills is I have found on YouTube now that a lot of times when I use words like Justin Trudeau or convoys or scandals or like certain trigger words on YouTube, if those words are used, then YouTube buries them in the algorithm, which means that people aren't alerted that they're out. There's people that are unsubscribed from the channel secretly by YouTube as time goes on. I've had a lot of people in the comments telling me they've had to resub multiple times a week. So I've had to get a little creative with how we do things to get around those restrictions on YouTube. So again, this is where I say to people that liking a video, commenting, sharing it out, subscribing if you were unsubscribed, all of those things help the channel, and it helps to tell YouTube's, I guess, AI or their algorithm that, hey, people are watching this, people are interested in this. And if we can get around the censors, that's a good way for us to get out. Now, people will say, go to Rumble, go to other platforms. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I came to YouTube and I've been building that over the course of a year. So if I want to get the stories out to the mass majority of people that follow me, I have to stick with YouTube. So I'm just kind of saying that I don't want to make clickbaity titles. I always try to show in my thumbnails a hint of what we're talking about, as well as like a little bit of a description in the title so that people know when they look at everything as a package what they're getting into. Um, I've seen some channels do it better or worse than others, but it's all part of the game we're playing until Justin Trudeau's out of office, unfortunately, because these platforms are being told to censor and oppress people for putting out this content. And unfortunately, even when you have good stories that you want to get the information to people, YouTube often says it's not going to happen. I've had multiple videos this week be now I covered the farmer protests a few weeks ago in Europe. I covered the protests in India. And of course, as soon as they drop, like the videos start out strong with views, and then it's like YouTube pulls the plug out of the wall and the views just drop off. And after like an hour. And some of those videos are going stronger than any video that's dropped in the last 90 days on the channel, but it all of a sudden dies out and YouTube comes back saying, "Well, we don't know what the problem is," but it's very obvious when you monitor your analytics as much as I do. There's 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 fuckery afoot, so to speak. There's a lot of it going on. So I'm going to try and figure that out. It's all trial and error. People talking about the Quebec farmers. I do have a video coming out this week about the Quebec farmers. We will be covering it. And I do have a video about Chris Dacey's coverage of the Palestinian protests in Ottawa this weekend. So I'm looking forward to bringing that stuff to you guys. Again, we'll see how YouTube accepts it in the algorithm, what they want to do with it. But I'm looking forward to bringing those to you. Jim with a $2 super chat. I'd love to see you do a podcast similar to Timcast IRL. Well, first off, I'm flattered that you'd say it would do as well as something like Timcast, but so Friday Night Fringe is kind of like those podcasts, but it's basically what I have time for is the problem right now. When it comes to keep in mind that YouTube isn't my only um obligation right now in terms of what I do for a living. I'm currently working on another book project with Unacceptable Fringe to bring out one of our Dr. Seuss like parody books at some point late spring this year. So I've got that on the go. I've got YouTube to do, and then I've also got planning for this Calgary mayoral election. And again, unfortunately, those things all suck up my day while being a full-time father to a 3-year-old toddler. So it's never a dull moment in this house. And the problem is that anytime I talk about, hey, I want to do this show or these clip shows or something to branch out in terms of what I can offer on YouTube, unfortunately, some of those ideas have to go on the back burner until schedules get freed up. Now, the good thing is with the book project I'm working on, as soon as the writing is done, then that frees up a big block of time. Um, and I'm going to be able to focus a little bit more on YouTube after that is done. Now, I put out a video Saturday talking about grocery prices and talking about the ways I save with a family of 5 and how I usually try to shop a little smarter and budget friendly when I go out and ask people, would you be interested in seeing those kind of videos? And people had said, yes, I'm very interested in videos like that. Not just time or money saving, but more videos in tune to what's happening in the public eye, what's happening on the streets. Now I realize if I do a price comparison video, This is just out of Calgary, and prices differ across the country. But I think it'd be very interesting to do videos like that. Of course, so I've talked to um, I've talked with my wife about my ideas while we were out of town over the weekend. And I'm going to start doing a segment on this channel called "That's Unacceptable," and I'm going to start running that maybe bi-weekly or once a week once the schedule gets freed up, where we do something like I'll go out and do the price comparisons, or we'll look at utility bills, or we'll look at carbon tax increases and how it's affecting people, things like that. Interesting little kind of like mini subjects to get onto that aren't really focused around something that happened in the news or something that's going on in the world, so that we can kind of build a better community of people that are comparing things together in the comment section. So, for example, if I'm out comparing food prices, somebody might say, well, I'm from this province and this is where the deals are. Somebody might say, this is where I can find better prices on things, or you should look into this store. I think things like that would be very beneficial for this community, for people to communicate with each other as to how they're getting around. Because I'll be honest, ladies and gentlemen, when I was in Winnipeg this weekend, very different from Calgary. People's spending habits are very different from how I see Calgarians behaving. One thing that's always been in Calgary that I've noticed ever since I moved here in the 90s is that people, it doesn't seem to matter if it's recession, if it's booming times, if it's just regular old workflow times, people are always shopping, they're always spending money, they're always out. I've often said with my wife, whenever we've had to go to like a mall around Christmas time, the malls are packed and people have bags everywhere they go, and I'm sitting there going, wait, like it doesn't matter what time of day you go there, it's full, and people are doing those things. And I said, aren't people having a hard time paying their bills? I don't understand. Like, you hear about it on the news all the time, but then you go out and look around and nothing has changed in Calgary. Although when I went to Winnipeg, you could see a big difference in terms of what people were buying at the tills, how they were shopping, how many people were in these retail spaces. It was very, very different. Very different. Joe Lyman, are you launching a locals page? So I was thinking about doing a locals page later this year for content. Again, once this other book gets finished and once things free up, a lot of people have said, you're a little muzzled on YouTube and you can't talk about things like the coof or jabs or anything like that. Is there anywhere we can see that kind of content? So I was thinking too about starting a locals, so that maybe again bi-monthly or bi-weekly, sorry, people could come to the channel and maybe I do a live stream over there that's exclusive for locals members, where I can talk about all the unfiltered things that I want to talk about. That if you guys want to see my honest opinions, my hardcore opinions on things that YouTube would censor out or filter out or strike the channel for, that maybe those are the places we can do things like that, and maybe build an audience over there. Um, but it's all good. Master of Snatch jumping in. I'm sad to say it, but I find Canadians now dress embarrassingly bad. Very low rent. I haven't noticed that. But it's all good. Two flips coming in. Rumble is better. I want to transfer the videos I posted on YouTube. I want to transfer the videos I posted on YouTube there. Um, I don't know if you're asking if I'm going to move videos over there. I've been told to mirror content on Rumble, and I've been thinking about it. But I've also been hearing some rumblings about Rumble, and I'm kind of holding off at the moment because I'm not sure what's coming out of Rumble in the future. Um, Trudeau's economy coming in. Sorry, D. YouTube didn't tell me. It's all good. See, this is again where I'm talking about YouTube not putting out their notifications or telling people we're live. This is a huge problem. Rumble is good, but doesn't have the viewers on YouTube. It's definitely not censored like YouTube. They have technical issues they're still working on. Yeah, so I've been told that locals is very good. Again, I'm gonna do my research, figure it out. Um, again, if that's something people are interested in, let me know in the comments, and we'll get something like that moving. Um, Jordan Peterson says men dress like 12-year-olds. I don't know about that. So it's funny because like I get comments like that all the time. I had a comment a few weeks ago in YouTube, and again, I don't typically like at nighttime. If I've got time, I'll sneak into the comments and see what people are saying about videos and things like that. If I've got a couple minutes to kill, I try to be as interactive as I can in the comments. But people have started tagging me in the comments to make sure that I read them. And actually, somebody had seen me wearing this Transformers hockey jersey a few weeks ago and said, maybe if you stop dressing like a 12-year-old kid, people would take you more serious. And I just said, hey, listen, you know what? I love dressing like this. This is part of who I am, and deal with it. I mean, that's this is what makes me happy. And I think that you go around this world one time. So you should enjoy it to the fullest. You should be happy. Be who you are. I understand that when you work in an office setting or when you go out in public, sometimes first impressions last, and you have standards when you go places, and that's fine. You can have those too. But for those of us that really just enjoy things, there's nothing wrong with that. There's I am obviously, if you can't tell by what goes on this channel, in terms of my set design, in terms of my clothing choices, I am a nostalgic nerd, and I embrace it to the fullest, and I think it's great. So um let's get caught up in some of the comments. I saw Jordan Peterson in Congress. He was spot on, and I knew he was gonna. Yeah, so I watched Jordan Peterson's testimony in Congress as well. It was absolutely enlightening. It was fantastic. Go and check it out if you haven't already. It's all over YouTube. It's absolutely fantastic. What else do we got here? I'm not reading that one, Snatch. I really don't care. Um, the Nightmare CB jumping in. Welcome to the stream, buddy. The Nightmare of Calgary will rule with shorts on. See, that's the difference, though. Like if I was mayor of Calgary, I'd probably wear pants to work because it's more necessary, right? It's a work setting. I I'd have no issues doing that. I'd happily wear pants to a job. Um, got Dan coming in. Thank you so much for your channel. Thank you for having Stephanie Kusi on the show. I appreciate. Thank you. I no problem. Again, uh, if you missed the Stephanie Kusi video, go check it out. We're gonna have Michael Barrett, Garnet Genius, and Larry Brock here on the channel at some point in the future, talking about Arrive Scam. I talked to Stephanie about it. Said, I'd like to keep the ball rolling here to keep people up to date, kind of like a revolving door with those four candidates as to what's happening and what's going on. And they seem very keen. So again, it's scheduling that's the problem. I've spoken with all of them and or their handlers, assistants. And again, the interest is there. It's just a matter of scheduling. With Stephanie Kusi, I reached out early February to have her on the show and got an immediate yes. And it took from early February all the way up until this week to get that interview going based on schedules, based on how late they're in these hearings. So again, folks, be patient. We will get them on the channel. It is coming. Um, let me see if we can get caught up in the chat a little bit here. We need to cut out the criminals and push the replacements and push the investigation and where applicable charges and jail time provided. So the problem is now I've got a video coming tomorrow where I covered the Palestinian protests that went on in Ottawa this weekend. And I think I'm going to get a lot of flack for that one, and that's okay. Because I basically stated my opinion in there. I said the biggest problem with that protest, because the police don't want to arrest any of them because it looks bad. It looks bad for PR. It looks bad for the government. It makes them look oppressive. So of course they just stand there and allow this stuff to go on. Smoke bombs being thrown through the streets, people causing havoc, and of course, no big deal. We don't see the Emergencies Act. We don't see Justin Trudeau telling them it's time to go home. like he did to the truckers. We don't see tear gas and people hitting citizens with batons. We don't see horses trampling people. Um, and I'll say the same thing I say in tomorrow's video. And here is the problem: this is supposed to be Canada. This is not Palestine. This is not Israel. If you want to protest Palestine in the streets and flood the roads and throw smoke bombs and um, cause a ruckus like that, if semi trucks aren't allowed to honk their horns in the streets, you should take your Palestinian flags, you should take your smoke bombs, and you should get on an aircraft and fly to Palestine and protest there. Throw your smoke bombs over there. Take your bullhorns and all your stuff over there and protest, because I care about Canada. I care about what we're doing in Canada. I care about fixing our own bloody problems rather than worrying about something that we have no grapple on. Nothing that we do is going to affect the outcome of what happens in Israel Palestine. I want to see our problems get fixed first. And it starts by ousting that clown of a prime minister from office. It's Dan Buckley, yeah, it's not our war. And that's the problem I have. Let's see what Snatch has to say. If another demographic was protesting in the same way, they would have brought out the tanks. But they're not allowed to take any action against people doing illegal actions right in front of them. So the problem there is that, again, it's about, and here, I never thought I'd be saying this, it's about white people. There's so many places I go these days where I hear other ethnicities saying white people this, white people that. We hate white people. Shut up, you're white. This constant whitewashing of people, it's racism. And everybody says, well, it's not racist because it's against white people. That is racist to say that. It's all racism. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, purple, green, whatever. It's all racism. The minute you mention somebody's skin color, it's racist. But to say we're not going to arrest Palestinian protesters because they're not white, because it goes against our diversity hires, it goes against our woke ideologies, it goes against everything we've been spewing for the last 8 years, that doesn't mean you get to run amok. I've seen videos of protesters in Toronto threatening police that if you touch me, I'll unalive you. Now, if I walked up to a cop and said that in Calgary, I would be thrown to the ground and cuffed and dragged away, and I'd be charged with death threats on an officer. A Palestinian protester does it, and the cop says, hey, calm down. It's okay. Don't get mad, because they know if they turn that guy around and put him in handcuffs, it's going to be a PR nightmare for the police. The minute you talk about race, you're a race hustler. I seen, again, I don't watch political channels. Clyde Do Nothing had a video on white shame, apparently, that upset people. Well, white guilt, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't get why people jump on this bandwagon of being ashamed of who you are. Again, I don't know the context, so I don't want to get into it too much, because then I'll just sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But why? Why is it so wrong to be proud of who you are? Like, I don't understand. Like, we never had these problems 30 years ago, 20 years ago in this country. People treated other people with respect. It didn't matter where you came from. It didn't matter who you were, what color your skin was. Canada was the least racist country in the world. Everywhere I would go, and it's funny because, like, I had friends who came here from other cities, and they would always say, Calgary, it's so nice. People are so nice and friendly. And I would see that everywhere I'd go in Canada. People were always friendly. I would very rarely hear of people using racial slurs or anything like that in public, the word racism hardly came up. But nowadays, it's dropped like it's on fire, like it's going out of style. Racist this, racist that, misogynist, bigot, Nazi. It's all thrown around now. It's common day-to-day speak, and it's wrong to be proud of who you are. It's wrong to be a straight male, a straight white cis male, or whatever the hell they talk about these days. Why? I'm supposed to accept you, but I can't be proud of who I am? I'm not allowed to enjoy who I am? Why? I've had family members tell me you should have white guilt and white shame because colonists came over here and took this country from the indigenous and they gave them bogus land deals. And I said, well, okay, but why should I feel guilty about that? Well, because white people did it. Okay, but where were the white people from? Well, France and Britain. Okay, so let's blame the French and the British. Don't blame white people. It has nothing to do with white people. This has to do with the French and the British and their monarchies. Their monarchies. It has nothing to do with us today. And we have paid in full multiple times to generations of people for land that we've given back. We've paid trillions of dollars in reparations. So why should I feel guilty? The whole point of history, and while history is very dark at times, the whole point of history is so that we learn from it and we don't repeat it. And now they're erasing that in schools. They're erasing it everywhere. It's just feel guilty all the time. All the time. You're not allowed to like yourself anymore unless you're a different ethnic background that came to this country, or your ethnic background is from a place other than Canada. Then you're allowed to be proud of yourself. You're allowed to go into the streets and wave your flags and throw smoke bombs and tell people to get out. Call me crazy, but the whole point of leaving what Donald Trump used to call a third world shithole is so that you can have a better life, not come here and make it the same as the place you left. That has nothing to do with race. That's behavior, common decency. If I were to pack up my home tomorrow and say to my family, we can't live in Calgary anymore, it's it's a war zone. It's crazy. It's people are getting hurt. I wouldn't move my children to another city and then say, hey, let's start that up all over again. I'd be like, thank God we got away from it. I'm told I'm toxic and a bigot and transphobic for simply holding a masculine values and not being willing to comply with the alphabet mafia or treat people special because of the skin color. Embrace it. I've had the same problem. In fact, I talked to people about that over the weekend when I was in Winnipeg because I was out with some friends. We went to a local like a pub, and some of them were asking me about my mayoral policies, and I said, I look, live your best life, do whatever you want, date who you want, identify how you want. I don't have to play around with it though. I don't have to cater to your delusional perception. I know trans people, males who are trans women, and I will call them her or she when talking about them, but it's not because I agree with what they're doing or that I believe they're female. It's out of respect for those people that I say that's what they prefer. So I'm not gonna like, if they came up to me and said, "Do you think I'm a woman?" I'd say no. Of course not. But when I talk about them, I say, "Did you know she did this?" Or her and her boyfriend, wife, whatever, did this, did that. It's because of respect, not because society tells me I have to. You live your best life so long as you're not hurting anybody. But as soon as you start hurting people, we have a problem. Big problem. And I don't care if that means it's because you came from another country, because of your sexual preferences, because of your beliefs, your religious beliefs. I was always told in life, treat people the way you want to be treated. And I'm a firm believer that that's the best policy any human being can have on this planet. But when you go to somebody and say, if you don't believe what I think, you're wrong. And not only am I going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm going to belittle you. I'm going to step all over you and I'm going to ruin your existence, possibly harm you because you don't believe what I believe. You're an oppressor. You're the bigot if you do that. I had somebody at this restaurant yell at me while they overheard what I was saying to my friends about changing gender policy in Calgary in order to keep kids safe in a change room. I said, I don't want a guy with a beard going into a public pool in Calgary saying, I'm a woman, and then going into a change room and dangling his bits in front of kids. And somebody turned around and said, hey, you're phobic. How dare you talk like that? Don't you understand they've been through so much? I turned around and said, well, I'll have you know that as soon as they put that law in place, two 13-year-old girls walked into a pool and reported a man for doing that very thing. And the police came, and guess what? No charges were laid. Do you know why? Because they didn't want to look bad. They said, well, we don't have substantial evidence, just these girls leaving a statement that some guy was dangling his wang in their face. But we're not going to press charges because the mayor will get mad at us. The police chief will get mad at us. They'll fire us. They'll reprimand us because we're upholding the law, because the law doesn't apply to them. We've seen it with Rob Primo. If you don't know who Rob Primo is, go follow him on Twitter. Rob Primo seen a man walking stark naked in the streets during Pride in Toronto and said there were kids there. There were kids walking down the street. Why should they have to look at that? And he recorded the call on speakerphone. And the police officer said, well, I mean, it's Pride, so we can't just arrest him. But when Pride's over, of course, that's indecent exposure. That's the double standard I'm talking about. And it's the same double standard when it's you're not allowed to like yourself unless I deem it's okay. When you look at that end of life, when you look at what's happened with Justin Trudeau and his divisive nature, this is what he wants. Because look, you think back to the Napoleonic age of divide and conquer. This is just it refined. This is how Justin Trudeau is still the Prime Minister of Canada with a minority government in 2024. Because during lockdowns, he said, don't go near those people, they're dirty. Don't go near these people, they're putting you at risk. Don't talk to those people, they simply take up space. How do we tolerate them? And so easily, people folded like a cheap deck of cards and listened. Listened. And it was embarrassing to watch my country sell out so fast because one man said so. And that's how he got impact. He divided everybody into little groups. Here's the LGBTQS plus. Here's the dirty unvaxxed. Here's those who followed through with my recommendations. Here's those who support liberals. Here's far right extremist MAGA supporters of Pierre Poilievre. You're always put in a group with Justin Trudeau. Nothing to do with pride, just basic decency. Yeah. Thank you for the $2 super chat, Jim. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's it's right and wrong. And that's what I was talking about when I sat at this pub last night talking to childhood friends about why I'm running for mayor. They said, so you want to have right-wing ideologies in your city caucus? I said, no, I want right from wrong, good from bad, acceptable versus unacceptable. But the unacceptable are coming to change this city. I'm not sitting back and saying it's okay anymore. I told them the exact same thing I've said on this stream. I'm sick and tired every 4 years looking at the candidates and saying, maybe next time we'll have somebody worth voting for. Who's the best to choose out of the worst? I'll vote for them. I'm done with that. It's one of those situations where people say, well, if you think you could do it so well, why don't you do it? I'm gonna, because I'm sick and tired of waiting. I'm sick and tired of sifting through garbage candidates every 4 years to end up getting the same old, and being told to just shut up and like it. I'm sick of being divided by a narcissist drama teacher who's going to tell me what's best for my city, my people, my family. I don't think so. I don't think so. When I sat in this pub and told this person who yelled out, RCMP didn't arrest this guy. They said, well, they shouldn't have. Why not? He didn't do anything wrong. How so? How so? They couldn't answer me because all they're standing behind is an ideology. They're not standing behind fact. Facts don't care about your feelings. And that's the problem, is that a lot of these people get loud and obnoxious and in your face, and they'll call you every name in the book. They'll be complete hypocrites of everything they claim to be, all so that they can be right. But they're not. And that's a huge, huge problem and a huge slippery slope that we're on. Other cities are going to fall if people don't start taking control and telling these people, shut up, when they get to that point. And I think more people gotta. More people got to. Because if we sit back and continue to let it happen, it's only going to get worse. It's kind of like the dad who buys everything for his kids. Dad, can I have $10? Sure. Can I have $20? Sure. Can I have more money to go out with my friends? Sure. Then it comes time to tell your kids you need to get a job and look after yourself. And they say, no, I don't. Why? You'll just give me money. When somebody comes and says, you're a bigot, okay. You need to accept that I'm a woman even though I'm a biological male. Okay. You need to date somebody who's trans or you're phobic. Okay. Like, all of these things start to add up after a while. And I've always said, as even as a joke, at one point I said, I think that these guys are testing us to just see how much bullshit we'll put up with before they draw their line in the sand and say, okay, that's going too far. That's where the line is and we can't cross it. That's where their limit is. Because it feels like they come up like the people, and I'm not talking about trans community. I'm talking about the people who get loud and throw these stupid idiocracies in your face. It feels like every week they've got something else to shame you about, something else to talk to you about and say that you're wrong and that you need to change, that you're the problem. And I think that it's just to see how far they can go before we finally push back, just like the truckers did during lockdowns, where they said, this is the line and we're going to hold it and we're not going to take it anymore. It's so sad that when I went back to Winnipeg this weekend, I sat down with people who were very judgmental during lockdowns. Some of them said the most toxic things I couldn't imagine would ever come out of their mouths about those who made choices about their anonymity. They weren't so quick to judge this time around. They didn't even want to talk about it because they were wrong. And they know now that they were wrong. And I think some of those people feel shame for what they did. But what still surprises me to this day is what I said earlier, how easy it was for everyone to fold, for everyone to say, we'll do whatever you say. Govern me harder, daddy. That's how it went. And it's so sad because if that's the fight we're going to put up with when the government comes knocking, boy, are we in trouble as a country, as a society, as a living entity. We are in big trouble if we can't say no. There are people out there, even back in the days of slavery, that stood their ground in the face of adversity and said, you're not going to push us around anymore. You're not going to do this to us. People died. Wars were fought. But the right people won those battles because they stood behind their convictions and believed what they were standing for. And we as Canadians have a moral obligation when things are going that way to stand up and defend the flag that we support and that we were born under, to fight for our country, to fight for our freedom, to fight for our rights, to say, this is Canada. And we're not doing that. We're not those people. Guys like Klaus Schwab shouldn't stand a chance coming over to this country and preaching one sentence of his ideological beliefs, because Canadians should be saying, take off. Take off, eh? You hoser. I guess I'm disappointed that over the last 4 years, 5 years, I have seen this country go from not bad to terrible. And one thing I'm so grateful for when we do these live streams, when I look at the comments, even when people are mad at me in those comments, I'm so grateful that we have people speaking up, even if they don't agree with me. I'm so happy to see that. And that's why I've told people the nasty comments don't ruin my day. They don't affect me because I'm so happy to see people exercising their rights. It gives me hope that maybe things can change, that maybe we can see change in our society, that we can see good people come forward that say, not enough, not anymore. I was disgusted this morning when leaving my hotel in Winnipeg. I had some time to kill before going. We had a 12 noon flight. So my wife and I, instead of driving around Winnipeg, our hotel was by the airport. We said, we'll just have breakfast in the restaurant at the hotel. You go downstairs to the hotel that is taking in Ukrainian refugees, and you go in the main entrance of this restaurant, and there's a Canadian flag where half of it, over top of the maple leaf, fades into the Ukrainian flag. And I looked at it, and the waitress said, just a table for two. And I said, what the fuck is that? And she said, sorry? I said, what in God's name is that? She says, it's a Canadian flag. I said, that is not a Canadian flag. And she said, well, it's a Ukraine flag as well. And I says, yeah, why is it up here? Well, we're supporting the Ukraine. I said, aren't they all staying in the hotel? She says, yeah. I said, well, then you're supporting them. You don't desecrate a Canadian flag. And my wife was getting a little antsy, just, hey, don't. And I said, no. You don't do that. I said, if you want to support the Ukraine, get a little tiny Ukraine flag, put it on your pedestal up here, but you don't cut a Canadian flag in half to have it overrun by the Ukrainian flag. This is my country that my grandfather fought in a war for. And I'm going to be damned if I let another flag drape over top of mine in the country that I pay taxes for, that I work my ass to the bone for, and that I stand behind and would bleed and die for. I wouldn't bleed and die for Justin Trudeau's Canada. I'd bleed and die for the Canada that I have faith in, the Canada that was reignited when I turned on my TV and saw a line of trucks on their way to Ottawa to tell the government to piss off. That's the Canada I would bleed and die for. One Phasey, thank you so much for the 13.99 super chat. My God, love your show. I love that you love my show. Thank you. Tammy saying the Canadian flag's all inclusive, and we put another flag over our flag. It should not be here. It's the thing about Canada. Do you guys remember and I've mentioned it before, like in the late 90s, I used to be told if you ever go to Europe, you sew a Canadian backpack or Canadian flag to your backpack because people will actually treat you better if they know you're from Canada. I'm not going to sew a Ukrainian flag to my back. I'm not from the Ukraine. Ukrainian people should be proud of the Ukraine. They should be proud of their home. If they want to move to Canada and become Canadians, then they should be proud of Canada. We're not the Ukraine. We're not Palestine. We're not any of this stuff. It's Canada. Try and pull that shit in the United States. Can you imagine the uproar if you went into a restaurant in the United States and it was half the US flag or even like 90% US flag and just a yellow and blue stripe on the end of it? People would lose their shit. You'd have guys that do conceal and carry in the US threatening to kill people in the restaurant because of that, because they'd say, you don't do that to the American flag. I'm so sick of this pandering and this spineless show of emotion that we allow people to come here from all walks of life and spit all over our country. I'm all for people who want to come to my country and get a job, contribute, build a better life, find opportunity. That's what Canada is, has always been, and will always be. But if you're fleeing a country because of an oppressive government or because of war or because of famine or because of crappy living conditions, don't bring it here. You're coming here for a better life. You're not coming here to emulate what you had back at home. If you are from somewhere like Palestine and a war breaks out, you're free to share your displeasures with what's going on there. You're free to grieve for your country. That's your country. But you don't get to bog up my streets with thousands and thousands of people breaking windows, throwing gas grenades, and telling people, tell Trudeau to call a ceasefire and do this, do that, or we're not going to stop. You will stop because this isn't Palestine. It's Canada. I don't believe in free handouts. I don't either. And I get sick and tired of it. Again, now look, my heart goes out. My son last year had his very first birthday party since lockdowns. Last April. And there was a young girl who moved to Calgary from the Ukraine, and my son invited everybody in the class to his birthday party at the house. And the mother of this daughter came over because the daughter didn't really speak English very well yet, but she was trying to make friends. And the mom came over. The mom was from the Ukraine. And I had a 2-hour conversation with this woman who spoke kind of broken English about what was going on over there. And I completely fell for them because it made my heart sink to think that her husband was told he wasn't allowed to come here with them. He had to stay while Zelensky launders our money. He's got to put up with everything that's going on over there. And he's this little girl is going to school in Calgary. And she's just grateful that she could bring her daughter here for a better life. And she's so grateful to Canada. And I look at that and go, this is a family trying to figure things out, trying to make it, trying to get away from a terrible lifestyle. And I'm so grateful that our country opened up our doors to them. But the difference is this woman has a job. She pays taxes. She contributes. When I went to this hotel over the weekend and seen all the Ukrainians in there in their tracksuits and throwing garbage all over the hallways and stuff, I start going, how many of these people are actually paying to stay in this hotel? I actually asked some people I was out with last night. I said, "Do you guys am I wrong? Is it just that hotel or are you guys taking in like a lot of Ukrainians?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we're taking in tons of them." Who's paying for the hotel rooms? And she says one of my friends who works in the hospitality industry says it's mostly the government, provincial and federal, paying for those hotel rooms. Why? Why? I met a Ukrainian last year who fled here with her daughter, and she's working 12-hour days raising a 7-year-old little girl who doesn't get to see her dad. They're contributing, they're trying to get a better life. Why are hotels in Winnipeg full of Ukrainians that want to sit on their ass and do nothing? Right? Trudeau's talking about, and the point of that is that Trudeau's talking about bringing in people from Palestine when our streets are already flooded with protesters. So now we're going to put them in hotels and pay our tax dollars so that they can protest in our streets and throw smoke bombs everywhere, threaten police officers. You should be happy you're brought here to get a better life. If my country, if Canada went full blown war, and I'm just going to throw it out there, the UK, right? London said, we're going to take in Canadian refugees because you were under the crown. If I fled a war torn Canada and went to the UK, I would grieve for my country. I'd feel terrible for my country, but I would assimilate and I would get a job. And I wouldn't sit around a hotel scratching my nuts all day saying, oh, I can't wait to get more government handouts. I'd want a better life. I fled. I almost said fleed. I fled for a reason. I'm looking for a better life. Let's remove history and cover it up until everyone is white is racist. But that's what they're doing. I So here's another one, and I want to acknowledge this. Where is it? Where is it? T Rich. Thank you for this comment because I do know this as well has happened. And I know Ukrainian she can't work because Canada won't allow her to. But that's a government problem. That's where again we should be contacting our MPs and saying, "Hey, like I'm telling you right now, I'm calling my MP tomorrow to tell them about this hotel in Winnipeg and say, look, I know this isn't Winnipeg over here, but why are we paying for all these guys to stay in hotels? And if they're not allowed to work, why not? Why are we spending tax dollars housing people that are willing to work, that are willing to contribute? Why? There's people in tent cities that are Canadians that can't afford to live, that are freezing to death on the streets while we're paying for people from other countries to take up our hotels. How's that fair? That's where I have the problem. I have no problems with humanitarianism. I've got no problems with opening our doors and saying, come in, give us, you're tired, you're poor, you're sick, but you gotta want to have a better life. You gotta want to have to contribute and be a part of it. You don't have to get a Canadian citizenship card. You don't have to adopt the Canadian flag, but you're in Canada. You have to respect you're in another country. Just as if I moved to another country, I wouldn't move to Japan and say, oh, you guys don't celebrate Christmas. Well, you have to now because I came from Canada and we celebrate Christmas there, or I'm going to be offended. The problem with doing that in any other country in the world is when you say, I'm going to be offended, they'll say, so what? So what? That's the problem in Canada is that people are saying, I'm offended. And we're going, oh, well, we don't want you to be offended. Oh, what can we do to make you feel better? How can we bend the rules to make things better? And that's where we end up with what I saw today at the Winnipeg airport, where I finally seen men's tampons in a bathroom and an old 80-something-year-old man losing his shit over it. And it was the funniest goddamn thing I'd ever seen in my life. If I wasn't in the bathroom, I would have recorded it so I could put the video up and have a laugh with everybody about it. But I'm not going to film in a bathroom. Come on, guys. But it's It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, and I go, "This is the state of our country now. Everything's going to hell." And just like the pandemic, we're sitting back and allowing it. We're complaining on the internet, but we're not complaining to MPs. We're not having their phones ringing off the hook, harassing them, saying, "You need to stop this now or you're out of a job." I've called MP offices that aren't even in my ridings. They don't know where I'm calling from, and I'll tell them, "Hey, you're done if you don't fix this. This is an outrage. This is taxpayer money." I got no problems doing those things. Everybody here should do the same thing. Pierre Poilievre had a rally over the weekend, and he had a great mic drop. I got a video coming out tomorrow about that. But he had a rally this weekend, and he said the same thing, that when you look at what happened with the heat pumps in Eastern Canada, that was Newfoundlanders and people on the East Coast calling their MPs saying, "We can't afford fuel to heat our homes this winter." And they threatened. Newfoundland and Labrador are very liberal leaning provinces, and they phoned their liberal MPs and said, "We've had enough of you, we've had enough of Trudeau." They were at the point they were losing seats, and everybody talked about it when Trudeau came out and gave his press conference and said, "We're going to pause the carbon tax on eastern provinces for heat pumps." It was all because they were losing seats. They were going to lose seats in Newfoundland. Pierre Poilievre even said at his rally, this was an unscheduled, unplanned press conference when Trudeau came out and said, "We're going to pause the carbon tax for these guys." And then you had the rest of the country saying, "Well, what about us?" He didn't care. He doesn't care in Alberta because it's all conservative. He doesn't care in Manitoba or Saskatchewan because a lot of them vote conservative usually too, or NDP if you're in Manitoba. But he doesn't care because he doesn't have to. And that's what Pierre Poilievre is saying, is that if you start getting loud, if you start calling these offices, if you have their phones ringing off the hooks, send them letters, send them emails, flood them saying you need to shape up or ship out. I'll tell you right now, if I'm the mayor of Calgary, I know I'm going to get those calls. I know I'm going to get those calls and those threats, and I'll take the time to try and hopefully listen to every single one of them. Now, that's impossible in a city of 1.7 million people, but I do the best I could to hear what people have to say, even when they're mad at me. I listen to you guys on this channel when you're mad at me. I even said on last week's live stream, "I'm really sorry that I missed a couple words in a video, and I'll do better next time." And I'm not doing that because you've beat me into submission. I'm doing that because I've heard what you've said. I hear your grievances and I say, "Yeah, you know what? They're right. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong." But when we talk about the country, when we talk about the state of things, when we talk about what's happening in this world, you have to look at it. I had a huge eye opening this last week. Dealing with my mom's death, depression, everything that happened during the pandemic. It took forever to get on the list to talk to a therapist, and I was blessed to finally get that opportunity, and I've talked to one for several sessions. And I'm not gonna get into the details, but what we've come to the analogy of is a lot of it realizing that I took a lot on my shoulders blaming myself for other people that are not my fault as to some of the things that happened when my mom died. I've talked about I wasn't in the room when she passed, and I promised her I'd look after my father. But because of lockdowns, because of circumstance, I wasn't allowed in the room, and I felt like I'd failed. And this therapist says, "You have to realize other people are the ones with the problem, not you." And it rings true with what I'm talking about, with people coming to Canada with Palestinian flags running through the streets saying, "Everybody get out of the way. We have to yell and shout about Palestine." We need to start saying that's a you problem, not ours. This is Canada. This is our country. You don't get to come into my house and wipe your dirty feet on our floor. Go do that in Palestine. If they say, "Well, you're offensive, you're a bigot," that sounds like a you problem. That's where we need to be. The time for being nice is over because Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, Marco Mendicino, all of these left idealistic protesters, none of them have shown us the common courtesy to be nice. They've stolen from us. They've cheated us. They've lied to us. They've frozen our bank accounts. They've locked us in our homes. They've pushed woke clown politics onto us. The time to be nice is over. It's time to start saying no. No more. This is where the buck stops. This is where it ends. And when people come here and say, well, you're a bigot, you're a racist, if loving my country makes me a racist, I guess I'm the most racist ass on this planet. But that red and white flag with a maple leaf on it, I would stand for any Canadian citizen's right to speak their mind, to protest, to live their life free, and I would die for the rights for them to do that, even if I disagreed with them. Because I was born into a free country. I love my country, and nobody, not even Klaus Bloody Schwab, is going to come into my country and tell me that I'm a white cis male or a bigot or a racist or a misogynist. They're not going to say that I take up space. And let me tell you, folks, I can go back to the gym because I do take up a lot of space. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to let them come into my house and take a dump on the floor and tell me that I'm wrong for loving my country or loving who I am as a person. And I would implore every 293 of you watching this stream right now to start doing the same thing. There's a nice way to say it, but as soon as people say, oh, well, I'm offended, shut up. That's what people need to start saying. Shut up. I don't care if you're offended. Go home and cry, have a Coke and a smile, and get over it. If you don't like Canada, pack your bags and go back to wherever the hell you came from, where it was so much better. And they'll say, well, it wasn't better. That's why I came here. Good. Then get with the picture. Stop being offended. Don't be a pussy. Grab a pair and be proud to be in Canada. This is my home. This is your home. And I'm not going to let that continue because, ladies and gentlemen, that's unacceptable. And that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you to everybody who came in tonight. Thank you to everybody who was here. Again, I apologize that we had to do the Sunday night stream. I'm not planning on going out of town for a while. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes peeled for the content coming out this week. Make sure to like, comment, share, get in there, push it out in the algorithm. We need to get our views or our videos out for people to view, I should say, because Justin Trudeau is pushing so hard to suppress those videos in the algorithm. I can't wait to bring you guys some new interesting content this week. I'm trying to work with a few things. Again, try and bypass some of the clickbaitiness if you see any. I'm trying to work around and figure out a mathematical way for YouTube to allow these videos to pass without censorship. So again, I try my best to fill everybody in as to what the videos are going to entail. So please don't think that there's deception on my part or that I'm trying to get a gotcha on people. I try to do this as honestly as I can. And we'll continue to. But join us Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Join us this Friday on the channel for the One Chip Challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun. I picked it up over the weekend, and my wife, against my wife's wishes, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it here on the channel with you guys and having some fun with it. Again, I've been trying to build up my tolerance since the failure of the last death chip. I think I might be able to get through this one, so it's going to be a fun time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe. Turn on the bell for notifications. If you're watching the stream afterwards, again, keep your eyes peeled for the content, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great week. Don't let anybody step all over you as we walk out into this country. Love it for what it is because it's okay to be Canadian. It's okay to love who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Stay safe. Look after each other. And I will catch you on the next one. Enjoy your week, everybody, and have a great night. Thanks for joining us here. I appreciate each and every one of you. You matter. This country matters. Let's get to work. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.